we'll give them a go, and we do this thing called the full trigger challenge.
Oh yeah, that's a good challenge.
So you have to pull the trigger immediately in one go, and then hold on for dear life. You hit it, you rode that thing out, and we were in the streets. So
Yeah.
I'm like, okay, this guy can handle it.
Yeah.
That's on his first go. And then I spoke to Jeff, and we're like, all right, he's going to ride it. What's up, guys? Welcome back to another episode of the eSkate Chat podcast with Evolve.
Are we going to use the technology from what's on the Hadean series?
It's changing that whole final drive ratio.
Surfing this endless wave through Tokyo.
Electric skateboarding is like breaking through.
Every time I wanted to drink, I would step on this board.
Heard somebody say, "Hey, Dean."
100%.
We'd love to build our own specialized e-skate track. I mean, the amount of thought that went into that.
I want to talk about how it affected the riders.
I went skating with Tony Hawk.
Oh, what?
Yeah.
Really? There's a whole new product line.
I've done things I never thought I'd be able to do because of electric skateboarding.
What's up, guys? Welcome back to another episode of the eSkate Chat podcast. It's our third of the day.
Yeah.
E-skatecon has been one hell of a weekend.
Yeah,
and we're here
no.
with Kyle, the man himself that rode the Gremlin, the top placing Evolve rider out there. You did so well, hit the pro class. Let's just jump into it and tell me a bit about your background. When did you start e-skating? How long have you been doing it? What do you ride daily? And sort of like, what do you like to get out of electric skateboarding?
Yeah. I think I got into the skate scene starting with downhill skateboarding. That was probably around when I was 14 or 15. And then I saw people going up hills on electric skateboards, and I think that pretty much sold me. I remember testing out boards, and all I saw were boosted boards or Evolve boards and a few other companies. But once I tried the Evolve, it was over. The double kingpin trucks, the smoothness, the precision of the controller, that kind of sold me. And I started off with the GTX with the gold. That thing was a beautiful, beautiful board. Took that to New York, had a few great experiences, and then I crashed that one, got run over, got another.
New York City, baby.
New York City at its finest. Happy I got out of that and ended up getting a GT. And that GT really sparked up the love again because he had a little bit more range, a little bit more power. And then I started dancing around on it because I used to do a little bit of longboard dancing. But instead of pushing on the ground, I could now do it for as long as I want. So I thought that was something to try out. It turned out to be pretty well. So, yeah, that's pretty much where it is now.
Okay, so there's something you said there which is an interesting progression. You started in downhill longboarding, which is fast and furious, but then you found yourself at home on the double kingpin truck.
Yeah.
Which is kind of the opposite.
Very big switch. I remember going from caliber 50s and tightening them up to the point where you see the bushing squeeze out. But what do you do when you're at the bottom of the hill? You either walk all the way back up and do it again, or you search for another one, or you have fun on the ground. So I ended up getting a board that had a kicktail, but I still went downhill. And this is at Bustin' Boards. And I was able to kick that thing around and do some more freestyling tricks. And I was like, oh, this is great. And then my friend introduced me to carvers. And it would pivot a lot, and I just liked surfing. And then I heard that there were electric versions of this. And then I pretty much escalated to coming back to Evolve for the double kingpins. I just remember doing that first full lean back and hitting the trigger and just doing a very tight circle like Michael Jackson, leaning back, and it would grip. You wouldn't slide out. You could be on asphalt, concrete, and you could still do these tight turns. It's, I mean, rubber tires, so much better than urethane, and never went back. I always rock the 7-inch pneumatic tires.
That makes a lot more sense.
Yeah.
Like sort of getting into that flow in the carb that the carver can offer.
Yes.
And then, it's interesting because I feel the same way about pneumatic wheels. Having the rubber allows you to go way past the point that you can go on a urethane wheel without breaking traction. So you really get that sense of inertia. And you can like lay your body to a crazy angle.
Yeah, it's something for sure. you burn through them quick just because of how you ride and you shred hard. But oh my God, just the trust that you have in the tires, and you know how the board will always perform. So, at any percentage, the board is going to be capable of handling off-road, jumping down curbs when you need to. It just it always has power. And then now I upgraded to a Hadean, and it's just plenty, and it's great.
So you rolled into E-skatecon.
Yeah.
You came to race.
Yeah.
I remember talking to you on the first day, and you're like, might be sort of trying to get into that intermediate category. There's a novice, intermediate, and pro.
Yeah.
But you sent it on day one, qualifying on the stock Hadean, and you ended up in pro.
Yeah, you kind of have a game plan when you go into something like this. You're just trying to psych yourself into it. I'm about to race, and I have this strategy. But then once you're right up to the flag and they're about to wave you to go, it's like, all right, screw it. I'm just going to go for it. And that's kind of what I did. I said, screw whatever plan I had. I just want to shred. It's an open track. So I gave it my all. And I know a lot of people during the races, they probably didn't go all out to get like a worse qualifier time. But I was sliding on every corner. I almost lost it. And that's what costed me a little bit of time. But I was just having a blast. And turns out I had a pretty good time. And it was just enough to throw me in the pro class. So now I'm up against all these stooge boards and racing dedicated boards, and I was like the only one on an all-terrain daily type of board. But luckily I have over 5 years on Evolve skateboards and no other electric skateboards, so I got familiar with the remote and the precision that it could handle. So
yeah, I think for anyone that doesn't know, I guess there's different kinds of electric skateboards. So,
yeah, I kind of brazed over that. Yeah.
So Evolve Skateboards is essentially like our main thing is chasing the endless wave, snowboarding on land. We're about the carve. We're about feeling, like we spoke about, the inertia. And generally the high speed is not our game.
Everyone always asks, how fast does it go? How much does it cost? And the first answer is, it's like you want to be comfortable at speed. You want to enjoy. Actually, you guys said it best. It's like acceleration and speed, big difference. You could be at 100 miles an hour, and if you're cruising at 100, it feels like you aren't going anywhere. So that versus 30, I mean, it doesn't feel anything. But the torque and how fast you get to that speed, that's where the fun and the excitement comes from. And you guys said it best. It's a great feeling, and Evolve can just put the power down.
The ethos behind the boards that we build. That's what we love, and we know our customers love. But then you enter the realm of racing,
where speed and safety is less of a concern.
Exactly. And the boards that were racing in this pro class are built for that world.
Yeah.
Like they are very fast, they are very powerful, they're built to be low to the ground, they have massive tires. They have a lot of advantages for going at full speed. So the fact that you even got into that realm on a board built for having fun is very, very impressive.
Yeah, well, I don't know what to say. It was a little bit nerve-wracking with all those guys around me, and I was on a bright green board, and no one really knew what it was. They knew it was an Evolve, but because it was just, it looks like a regular carbon Hadean with some paint, but this one just has a little bit more juice, and I was able to keep up. But
let's talk about the Gremlin.
Yeah, so the Gremlin.
the Gremlin was built as a showcase board for E-skatecon. We wanted to, I guess, show off the aesthetics of it. It's got a paint job. It's got a bunch of custom, like a clear battery case, raw alloy parts. It looks the goods. And we also tweaked it. We removed a lot of the safety limits, which is, not great.
Yeah.
Good for racing.
Good for racing.
And we turned that current up, so it's more powerful than the regular board. And it was there on display on the Saturday. You didn't ride it.
Nope.
So you were on your normal board.
Yep.
And it was a group ride that night.
First little taste of the Gremlin.
Well, I'm like, we'll give him a go. And we do this thing called the full trigger challenge.
Oh, yeah, that's a good challenge.
So you have to pull the trigger immediately in one go and then hold on for dear life.
Mm-hmm.
And up until that stage, only 2 people had successfully been able to do it.
Yeah.
And Oh, we got the video. On the first
Yeah,
one,
you'll see
You were
it.
like, whoa. and pulled
Yeah.
off. But then the second time, bang, you hit it, you rode that thing out, and we were in the streets. So
Yeah.
I'm like, okay, this guy can handle it.
Yeah.
That's on his first go. And then I spoke to Jeff, and we're like, all right, he's going to ride it. Which was then interesting because you rocked up to the race a little bit late and practice was closed.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, that was a really bad decision. I was like, yeah, I think they started racing at 11 o'clock yesterday, so I'm sure they'll start at 11 today. So I can get there a little bit early, get my laps in, and then by the time I got my friends together and we got there, it was already 11 o'clock, 11:30. Track was closed, and I was like, oh, all right, there goes that chance. And then he said, hey, just take it for a quick spin. I said, yeah, I'll take it on the street outside, and that was my first real taste of the Gremlin's true power. We're lucky in Las Vegas to have long strips, and I think I was able to hit about 37 miles an hour, or 30, 35, 36.
About
I
59
can't say I
kilometers for those
wasn't
playing at
really
home.
looking at the remote when I was going at this speed, so I was but I know how a carbon Hadean would perform, and it is just a whole nother world. I mean, you hit that top speed about 25, 26, 27, and when you think there isn't more, it just keeps on pulling you, and then before you know it, you're flying.
What I love, so the little first lap around the track on the Gremlin,
Oh yeah, that was my first time.
it was your first time.
I can't kind of forget about it, but I don't even know where to start because it was so foreign. I used to ride bamboo boards, so I had a little bit of flex and play, and I would incorporate that into my rides when I carve, just kind of dig into it and bounce it. Obviously, no flex and a lot more torque now, so it was not my best race for my first one, but I think after that first heat, I was able to really understand how to apply the power. Because against all these fast boards, I think the best chance I have is just getting into the turn early and just hitting the accelerator as soon as I can. And it seemed to out-accelerate all the other boards. If I were lined up, I'm pretty sure we would take the lead.
So they did rolling starts, which was a bit of an interesting one.
It was, but not a problem for the Gremlin. I think it was just the nerve of putting that trigger all the way down, and then it's still pulling and pulling when I'm not expecting it to keep on going. But it's also I got a guy right in front of me. I got to get close as I can and then hit the brakes. But the power delivered. Everything was smooth sailing. I tried my hardest, and that board just did amazing.
How did it feel like riding with that caliber of riders and boards?
I think when I had some chance on the practice lap after, I took the Gremlin out again, and it is just like with most things, you get used to it. So I kind of got used to the acceleration of the Gremlin, and I was putting out way better times than when I was racing. It's so confidence inspiring. Halfway through a turn, you can just hammer it and know that you're just going to be fine and the board's going to take you there. And the grip on the 7-inch tires is just amazing. I don't know how the people did it on urethanes. You would be sliding all over the place. With this type of power, you need rubber wheels. And that feel is just, I don't know how to explain it except for getting involved and trying it yourself. It's the best way to find out.
How did you find the balance of actually keeping traction?
It was hard. You'll see in the race that my hands are always in the air because I'm counterbalancing and constantly losing the back end just because the turns were so sharp and you're leaning so far forward, and sometimes there could be a little bit of sand on the track. And a few times I would slide out, but because it's double kingpin, because I've been on this type of board for so long, I was able to just kind of keep it in check. The best part about the Evolve and why I was able to keep up is just the precision that you have with the controller. In your turns, you're able to dial in exactly how much torque or braking that you need, and it's so smooth that it's so easy. And I think the smoother you are for your race, the better you do. And you could really dial that in with Evolve. With the little spinning wheels, there's no way you could dial in the traction. And when you're fully accelerating on the spin wheels and you let go, there's like a few extra seconds of acceleration. And in a race, that's going to, ruin your times, or you're going to go into the barrier. So being able to instantly let off the throttle, lean back, slam the brakes, knowing exactly how it's going to perform is something Evolve has mastered. And that's why I stick with them.
We've spoken about this before, but I just wanted your opinion as someone that has now spent a bit of time on this Gremlin. A lot of people are saying, like, we want this in our life. How applicable is it to a real world? Like, you're on a racetrack. It's a different
You don't need it unless you... I'd say for the average person, you got to try the Hadean out first. If you're jumping from a GT or a different brand, it's a completely different ballpark in terms of control and how to operate this Evolve. It's all about being smooth. And top speed wasn't really a concern. Everyone wants faster speed, and if I guess you want it in the Gremlin, you can get it, but do you really want to go 35 miles an hour, 37 on a skateboard? I don't know. That's up to you. And
if you were to take the Gremlin home and you had that, and
are you just giving me this Gremlin? Because if you just give it to me, I'll take it.
Jeff's going to have a problem with that. I think he wants that on his wall. And you had that in the normal Hadean. Like, if you had to, say, run to college or the shops or something like that.
You don't need to go 30 miles and 35 miles an hour. Where I am, I live in a city, so cars are already going 25, 30-ish. But you don't want to be going... everyone has a different feel. I know your EUCs can go like 50 miles an hour, 60, and people just want speed. But I think it's just the practicality of having a skateboard, bringing it around campus, and just riding from here and back. That's plenty. I don't think you need the Gremlin for that. But if you have that thrill of speed and you live in an open country with plenty of roads and you just want to seek that, you could probably get a Gremlin. But for me personally, if I had the choice of getting one, I'd probably just stick to a Hadean. But honestly, after experiencing it, I don't know if I can go back.
I mean, don't get me wrong. It is a lot of fun.
It's so much fun.
Do you need it in your life? That's another question.
Yeah. It's like, do I need a Lamborghini? Is it practical? Maybe not the best. I could do all my dailies in a more affordable, easy board. But when I want to show off,
daily driver.
I guess I'll bring it out for special occasions.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
Was there anything else about the whole weekend experience that really stuck out to you?
Well, I'm sure you remember that group ride last night. Or
That I do.
Yeah, that was, am I wrong to say 300, 400 people?
We were talking about this on an earlier podcast.
I think it was...
I said 300 to 400.
Yeah, 300 to 400. I think they were estimating 500.
Yeah.
It felt like thousands.
You couldn't see the front. You couldn't see
you
the
couldn't see
end.
the back.
It was a sea of people and lights and speakers.
Yeah.
It was crazy.
And just chaos in Vegas at its finest. Just, everything is out there. Half the people are drunk. The other half are just screaming along and having fun. And I don't know if you know this, but there was one guy that was leading the whole thing, which I'm from San Francisco, and they have Float Pack, and from San Jose, they have Float Addicts. They have multiple people controlling rides because you have 30, 40 people. It's a little bit easier to control. With 300 people, how do you lead and stop traffic and try to not have anyone get hurt? It was a complicated ordeal, but it was a lot of fun.
I think there was a lot of experienced group ride people there.
Yeah.
Because they did do a pretty good job.
They did a phenomenal job.
So there was a lot of people stopping here, stopping traffic, stopping at the red lights, and just sort of all being on board and making it, I guess, as safe as it can. I wouldn't call it a safe
I think
ride.
the bigger the group is, the more the cars realize, oh, I'm probably not going to get by. And you usually get that one or two crazy drivers that would make a nuisance, but when you see that many people and just a stream of lights, there's no gap that you could fit your car through. So you're just going to wait like everyone else. And
it was a parade.
It was a moving rave, I think. Just a moving party. It was crazy. And yeah, after you showed me the Gremlin that day, I was locked in. I wanted one.
Yeah, I actually rode the Gremlin on that ride.
Yeah.
And the Gremlin doesn't have speed modes, right? So it's you have race. And that's it.
Only custom. You don't go down to any other mode.
So when you're riding in a pack, and it was I think 11-mile ride, something along those lines. There's moments where you like squeeze the trigger a little bit too hard.
Yeah.
And it like,
whoa, it'll catch you off guard.
it was catching me off guard. And
Yeah.
like, it was quite a lot for that scenario.
Yeah. I always go in Corsa. I never take it off of Corsa. And that's just because it's more precise. I feel like when I'm in sport, I jam the trigger, there's still a little buildup. But with Corsa, it's pretty much instant. So because of that, I'm able to dance on them, go on 1 foot, do my loops, and have confidence that that is going to stay at that certain mile an hour and not deviate. Yeah, if I'm on 1 foot and I sneeze and I hit it a little bit too hard, I'll probably go flying. But I think that's the benefit of having these. Some people say it's controversial and they don't like it, and everyone's, oh, I like the spinning wheel, I like the puck. But it's like this trigger, you're playing video games, you have good like trigger control with your fingers. It's just so precise. And I don't know. I kind of want to try dancing on the Gremlin now.
Oh, don't joke. I had a good conversation at the event with someone that's coming from a scroll wheel, and he'd never ridden ours, but he's like a very like experienced e-skater.
Yeah.
And that's the only thing he mentioned about the whole experience was he's
It's
like,
just because it's weird for them. It's
it was
it's
weird.
something different. Yeah.
He's like I'm not used to it at all, but it seems like you can like feather your acceleration more.
Yeah.
So the ability to control it, like especially once you're talking about big power, like the normal Hadean has, you do need some level of control over that sort of power.
I think people get it wrong. They want more speed versus control. It's all about control. If you have no control, then why are you going that fast? And on the Gremlin, even with the amount of power that it has, it still kind of feels like a Hadean. And because it's still like a Hadean under 30 miles an hour, granted, there's a lot more torque, but you get used to it. It just feels like a more sensitive Corsa mode. With everything, it comes with time, and you'll get used to it. And I think if you spend enough hours on it, you'll learn to dial everything in. After riding Evolve and only Evolve for 5 years, I've gotten pretty used to the trigger control and how they respond, especially switching to a brand new motor. I mean, the 150s or the 1500 watt.
Yeah,
the GT motors.
50-55s on the GT.
Those things were so exact. I was able to really, I mean, it's like 0 to 25-ish on all terrains. It was, I could nail it to every single mile an hour. And you can still do that with these new motors that spin forever. I don't know what it is, but it just coasts. And that's another thing that these new motors have a great advantage of. Just keeps on coasting.
Yeah, which is good for your dancing.
It is, but I always just keep the trigger down. It's a little bit better if I have a little more control. Like when I fall forward or I take a step too far wide, I just hit the gas, pulls me back in sometimes, and with the bamboo, it just has that bouncy responsiveness that no other board can replicate.
So with the dancing, not many people dance on all-terrain. That's something that we've had personal conversations about, because it's like you're pretty much the only one, to be fair.
I did see a few people doing it. And
inspired by you, probably.
Yeah, I think just the grip and I've tried dancing on urethane, and I would have to go to like a basketball court where no one was there with no cracks, because when you're on 1 foot, you get a crack, you're just going to fall. So I was like, well, now I got rubber tires, and I don't have to put my foot down. And after getting used to how the throttle responded, I was able to just keep on dancing and just nonstop, any terrain, just knowing how precise the trigger is and how the board will handle any of the situations. I mean, I could accidentally go into grass and barely bend your knees, and you'll just keep on floating through the grass, and it'll just hop right back on the sidewalk like nothing ever happened. It's crazy.
Yeah, and it's cool to see, like, especially when you sort of Peter Pan.
Yeah.
The board can really go side to side.
Oh,
and
yeah.
You know it's going to, like, hold that line.
Yeah. You have some shots where it looks like the board is just bending all over the place, and, like, my foot's going all over. But it just has that very consistent grip that you could just anticipate. And there's a lot of practice. A lot of scrapes and bruises. But
So now you've had that taste test. Was that your first e-skate race?
yeah, that was my first ever real life race I think that I've been a part of, and I can't wait to do it again next year.
Yeah. I mean, there's some other smaller ones like the Intro to Speed and stuff like that. Would you be interested in keeping an eye out on things like that?
Oh yeah. I'm still a student, so I am living in San Jose. I'm just trying to get my school stuff done first, and then I get to enjoy all this. But only making an Instagram and like getting out into this community a year ago, it has changed me so much. Now I'm in Las Vegas, and if I never joined this eSkate community, I would have never been here. If I never met you or anyone else in the community, it wouldn't have led to these opportunities. So I want to keep on pursuing it and keep on going if I have the chance, because it's a blast. And everyone in this eSkate community, PEV community, they're all friends. I mean, we all just love to ride, and it's just the best feeling when you know the CEO of this company, his original goal is just the endless carve, and he just loves to ride. And I think that that spreads out to everyone that is a part of this community.
Yeah, awesome. I can't wait to see you racing.
Yeah, no, it's going to be fun.
We're going to come back better than ever next year, and I'm excited to see what we can bring. You said some of the races that you raced against on those super fast boards sort of made some comments on like how you were able to handle that thing.
Yeah, no, they were really surprised. There was a guy that was behind me the whole time, and he says, I couldn't pass you. And I thought you were going to lose traction, but I mean, when I would lose traction, I just hit the accelerator and I'd be gone, and I would out accelerate these guys. And they gave me a whole lot of respect at the end of the race. They said, hey man, you're killing it. Is this the board that you're riding? This green guy over here? I'm like, yeah, just this guy. And it was like eye-opening to them, like, wow, I wasn't like expecting this to be here or like in this class. But it definitely held its own. I think I got fourth in the pros, which is pretty big deal, especially after like the first day with this thing. I wish I had another day or two to practice, but it is what it is, and I'm just happy I was a part of it.
Yeah,
it's
man.
awesome.
Huge respect from everyone at Evolve. Like, we loved that you went out there and held your own against those guys.
Man, it
like,
was a blast.
I can't like overstate how impressive it was to just be in those leagues. It was super, super cool. I mean, so we're just like so stoked to see you up there in that league. Like, big respect from everyone.
I appreciate it.
Like, you rode so hard, and we just can't wait to come back, do it all again next year. And
oh yeah,
man, let's go for that podium.
I'm trying. I will be going for that podium.
Well, we'll have to do our part with the board, I guess.
Yeah, no, if you guys get me back on a Gremlin or anything like that, I would love to represent you guys and try to get on that podium. I don't want 3 Stooge boards up there. I love Stooge boards, but I want to evolve up there too.
We're doing our bit coming at you.
I know. I mean, when you think about what these boards are made for, it's not really meant for these tight turn races. It's meant to really replicate a carve. It's not meant for high speed.
It's almost comical. Like to just have a double kingpin board.
I know. That's
great.
what that guy said right after. He's like, after you beat me, he flipped it over and he was like, double kingpins, like 7-inch tires, 66 teeth gears. You got belts. Everyone else is going gear, direct drive. And it sounds gnarly when they start, but this is a quiet, very seamless. I'm not going to have a problem after 8 laps. I rode this thing the whole time, and I burned away the rubber on the tires, and that's it. Everything works smoothly. Those guys are taking apart their boards under the tents, like making sure everything's dialed in perfectly, and I was still able to keep up. So that's impressive.
And you can ride away from the event, ride through the streets.
Exactly. Throw it over my
podcast.
shoulder, go through the elevator, not be that much of a nuisance. I also have cool lights at night that, no Stooge board will have. Also, their clearance is a lot lower, so they can't go down or up any curves. I mean, this thing is just meant for everything. And clearly, it can go fast and get to that neat. But
Cool, man. Well, thanks for coming on the podcast.
It was great to be here.
And we'll catch you on the next one.
Yep.
Boom.
Boom.